In the heart of the 18th century, a new spirit ignited the world. The American colonies, once content under British rule, found their voices. They yearned for liberty and self-determination. This is the story of the American Revolution. It began with whispers of discontent, of taxes levied without representation. The colonists refused to be treated as subordinates. The Boston Tea Party was a defiant act of protest. In 1776, they declared their independence. The Declaration, penned by Thomas Jefferson, was a beacon of hope. It was a call to arms against the British Empire. The American Revolution was a struggle for an idea, and so began a brutal conflict. The colonists fought with unwavering determination. They endured hardship and defeat, but they never surrendered their dream. From Lexington to Valley Forge, the spirit of America was forged in fire and sacrifice. With the Revolution won and independence secured, a new chapter unfolded in the American story, westward expansion. Fueled by manifest destiny, Americans set their sights on the vast lands beyond the Appalachian Mountains. The Louisiana Purchase in 1803 doubled the nation's size, opening vast territory for exploration. Pioneers, driven by dreams of land, headed west in wagon trains. They braved treacherous trails and crossed raging rivers. They built homes and farms, carving out new lives on the frontier. The spirit of adventure and self-reliance became ingrained in the American identity. This expansion came at a steep price. Native American tribes were displaced, their cultures disrupted. The Trail of Tears stands as a stark reminder of the human cost of manifest destiny. The clash of cultures left an indelible mark on the American West. Yet, the allure of the West was undeniable. The discovery of gold in California in 1848 sparked a frenzied gold rush. The Transcontinental Railroad, completed in 1869, connected the East Coast to the West Coast. America was expanding, growing, transforming into a nation that spanned a continent. As the 19th century progressed, a new revolution swept across America, the Industrial Revolution. Fueled by technological advancements and a seemingly endless supply of natural resources, factories sprang up in cities across the Northeast. The invention of the cotton gin revolutionized the South's economy, but it also intensified the institution of slavery. The steam engine, the railroad, the telegraph. These inventions transformed transportation, communication, and the very fabric of American society. People flocked to cities in search of work, leaving behind their rural lives for the promise of factory jobs and a better future. The Industrial Revolution brought unprecedented prosperity, but it also created new challenges. The gap between the rich and the poor widened. Working conditions in factories were often harsh and dangerous. Child labor became commonplace. Labor unions began to organize, demanding better wages, safer working conditions, and an end to child labor. The struggle for workers' rights had begun, a struggle that would continue for generations to come. The Industrial Revolution also fueled sectional tensions between the North and the South. The North, with its factories and growing cities, embraced industrialization. The South, with its economy dependent on agriculture and slave labor, resisted change. These growing divisions, simmering for decades, would eventually erupt in the most traumatic event in American history, the Civil War. A house divided, the American Civil War. By the mid-19th century, the issue of slavery had become a festering wound on the soul of America. The abolitionist movement, gaining momentum in the North, condemned slavery as a moral abomination. The South, fiercely defensive of its way of life, clung to the institution of slavery. In 1860, the election of Abraham Lincoln, a staunch opponent of slavery, as President of the United States proved to be the tipping point. Southern states, fearing that Lincoln would move to abolish slavery, seceded from the Union, forming the Confederate States of America. And so began the bloodiest conflict in American history. For 4 long years, brother fought against brother, father against son, in a war that would claim the lives of over 600,000 Americans. From the first shots fired at Fort Sumter to the Confederate surrender at Appomattox Courthouse, the Civil War tested the very fabric of the nation. The Civil War was a war of liberation, a war to end the scourge of slavery. It was also a war to preserve the Union, to prove that a nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal could long endure. In the end, the Union prevailed, slavery was abolished, and America took a giant step towards fulfilling its promise of equality for all. from World War to superpower America's defining moment. The decades following the Civil War were a time of immense change and growth for America. The nation rebuilt, its industrial might soared, and its population surged with the arrival of millions of immigrants seeking a better life. However, the world beyond America's borders was becoming increasingly unstable. In 1917, after years of neutrality, America was drawn into the horrors of World War I. The Doughboys, as American soldiers were known, fought with valor and distinction on the battlefields of Europe, helping to secure victory for the Allied powers. World War I marked a turning point in America's role on the world stage. The nation emerged from the war as a global power, its economy booming, its military might undeniable. But the peace that followed World War I proved to be short-lived. In 1939, the world watched in horror as Europe once again descended into war. The rise of Nazi Germany, with its ideology of hate and its dreams of world domination, posed a grave threat to democracy and freedom across the globe. America, initially hesitant to get involved in another European conflict, could not ignore the threat posed by Adolf Hitler and his Nazi regime. The Cold War and beyond, shaping a new world order. After the devastation of World War II, a new global order emerged. Two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, emerged from the ashes of war, their ideologies clashing, their ambitions competing for global dominance. The Cold War had begun. For over 4 decades, the world lived in the shadow of nuclear annihilation. The United States and the Soviet Union engaged in a high-stakes chess match, waging proxy wars, engaging in espionage, and stockpiling nuclear weapons capable of destroying the planet many times over. The Cold War was a war of ideologies, a battle between democracy and communism, between freedom and oppression. From the Berlin Wall to the Korean War, from the Cuban Missile Crisis to the Vietnam War, the Cold War played out on a global stage. The United States emerged from the Cold War victorious, its ideals of democracy and freedom prevailing. The Soviet Union collapsed under the weight of its own contradictions, its empire crumbling, its ideology discredited. With the end of the Cold War, the United States stood as the world's sole superpower. The nation faced new challenges and opportunities in the post-Cold War world: globalization, terrorism, climate change, and the rise of new global powers. America's role in this new world order was still being defined. Reflections on America's ascent, challenges, and opportunities. The story of America's rise from a collection of colonies to a global superpower is a story of triumph and tragedy, of progress and setbacks, of hope and resilience. It is a story that continues to unfold today, a story that is still being written by each and every one of us. As we reflect on America's journey, we must acknowledge the complexities of its past, the injustices committed, the sacrifices made. We must learn from the mistakes of our forefathers and strive to create a more just and equitable society for all. The challenges facing America today are daunting, but the nation has overcome adversity before. The spirit of innovation, of determination, of striving for a more perfect union that has always defined America remains strong. The future of America, like its past, will be shaped by the choices we make, the actions we take, the dreams we dare to dream. Hit like, subscribe, and share this video with fellow history buffs.